the trading deadline is that nothing. Wasn't really a buyer or a seller. We said at the beginning of the year that we had a team that we liked, a group of young players, and wanted to see who would really emerge at the mark when we were 10-21. It seemed like everything was nothing, and that we had nothing to lose. And then there was a lot of adversity, and they found some real positivity in the same chemistry that was born out of that losing to this time now where you're seeing some guys emerge. And I think the most interesting thing that we as an organization now will look at the last 25 games, because this is about something that we can gain, and I want to see how they will operate now with real pressure. If making the playoffs is important, then there will be some games that will have some pressure. And so if we can get those players that we believe in, that we think can be part of the future, to perform at a high level during this time and make the playoffs, then I think that's what we're looking for. And that's why we didn't just sort of make trades for the sake of making trades, lateral trades to get a look at other players. And so when it came right down to it, myself and Andy and Eric and Nick and everybody involved said, let's play this out. We got a great roster, I think, of young players and some great leadership, and some of the veterans, some guys who are emerging. Great coaching staff that's, I think, teaching them everything they know and what they need, for this run. We got a draft pick. We don't know where it's going to be, and we have that elusive moving number out there for the summer that will help us rebuild. So I'm glad we didn't do anything stupid.
Pat, how frantic did it get in the last 48 hours?
Not frantic. There was nothing. It was like boring. There's a time, there's a time when you're really out there buying when it gets frantic, and you can buy. There's a time when you can do that. And so, when we did the Goran things, when we made deals for Tim Hardaway, when we made deals for Zoe, and we did a lot of these things. That wasn't a trading deadline deal, but there are times during the trading deadline when you can make something happen, and I've always believed that at that time you give a nickel more to get what you want if you think it can help. And if you take a look at the teams that did some things, big, they're all teams that really want to take a step up because they've been taking steps back. And I thought Toronto made a deal that they had to make. It was a great deal for them. And, the Cousins deal, the Bogdanovich deal, with Washington. All these teams are sort of growing right now, and they need another piece. And, I think OKC and the deal they just made to get Taj Gibson and McDermott. So there are some teams that did some good things, and there are other teams that just sort of, held its ground, and they'll wait for the draft and for the summer.
The teams that are kind of around you, though, in that mix of trying to get in that East picture, it didn't seem like
we didn't do anything. Nobody did anything.
All right. So
I think everybody probably felt the same way. Is that they all feel like they have something, but over the next 25 games, all of those teams, 5 or 6 teams that are vying for that playoff spot, it's going to be very competitive. They're going to want to get in. There'll probably be a point, somewhere, if you get 6, 7 games behind, that other things can happen. But that's what's going to make it fun. So I think I'm not speaking for them, but I think all of us sort of probably felt the same way. Let's take a shot at it.
Pat, did this recent run change anything of your thinking? In other words, if you guys you were at 11:30 at one point, would you have done things differently if they hadn't started winning?
Maybe, but I don't think so, because even when we weren't winning, there were some players that were emerging and playing well. And so we don't have those kinds of assets to go out and to acquire. And I think the only thing that's going to change this franchise is going to be what comes from within first. What we do in the draft, what we do in the summer, and what we do on the trading market. But somewhere, we will have a star that emerges. We already have a couple of guys that we consider stars. And can you get one, via trade, develop one from within, draft one, get one in free agency? That's part of the game. And so I liked what I saw at the beginning of the season. What happened when we were 10-31, there was a lot of close games, and we couldn't finish those games. For some reason, we'd always find 2 missed shots, 2 turnovers, or whatever, and we were losing close games. They hung in there, and in this last 5 weeks, there was a lot of positivity, and I think it was that chemistry. I think it was Eric and the staff and this winning streak where now it's fun. Let's take this to what we would say the fourth quarter, and everything's on the line over the next 25 games, and let's see what we can do and what they can do. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about a playoff run, just as I would be as excited about getting the number 1 seed or the first round of the playoffs. I am. So you get excited at different levels, and so we're all excited about this. Now, we have bigger dreams here than that, but you take what you can get at that moment. And so this is where we are.
The excitement level with this team, obviously staying put. Anything can happen in the playoffs. Is
Staying
that
pat?
Staying pat. I was gonna say pat.
Okay.
But does that add to the intrigue of this group? Like, if you get into the playoffs, what it can do from there, not just getting in.
Yes. This was not smoke and mirrors over the last 5 weeks. This was some very good basketball. Some very good performances, and we will see now if after 9 days off, if they can remain the same team with the same kind of edge. And so I know they're going to play hard every night. We all know that. I know they're going to be prepared every night. Can they stay, efficient? And can the key guys who we depend on, that have to score for us at times that we need points and that we need stops, can they do this now? That may translate into a playoff spot. And that's what I want to see. And so that will give us, I think, a better evaluation of what we'll have to do after the season.
There were some big names out there, Pat. Obviously, how much did you keep an eye on just those big domino situations? And
Well, where all those big dominoes are? They're still home, with the exception of one. So I'm sure that there were people that probably, made some pretty significant offers for those possibilities. And so there's a lot of probing that goes into that kind of transaction. And so when you have that kind of player, you either develop one, you get one, you have one, it takes a lot to say, okay, we're going to let this guy go, and we're going to take this back to make it work, and then get some picks, and then go that route again. So you stay with the sure thing there, I think, for the most part.
Pat, what are some of the pleasant surprises of this first 2/3 of the season for you that maybe you did not expect?
Well, I don't want to single out, any one guy or a group of players, but I think what really, made me proud was the work that the staff, has done with a lot of guys that were perceived to be, they had perceived to have failed somewhere else. And their commitment, those players' commitment to take the step up and to receive the coaching and to have better seasons that they've had in their careers, that's been very pleasing, that they have decided to invest in themselves and use this platform as a platform to become better basketball players. I love what James Johnson has done. I love what Dion has it done, from that standpoint. Willie Reed, Tyler. It's a shame that they both, Justice and Josh, have been, set back somewhat. But with them being set back, we feel like we do have some knowns with them. But with these players in particular, with Wayne Ellington and what he can deliver, making 3 threes in 60 seconds or something. All of them, have, I think, done a great job. Hassan Whiteside, and the nights that he can truly dominate a game at both ends of the court, from that standpoint. So their commitment to becoming better basketball players has really opened my eyes to them and possibly how I see them going down the road with us.
Pat, there have been examples of Pat, there have been examples of players who are pretty good NBA players for 4 years, like Kyle Lowry, and then suddenly blossom into very, very good players. With Dion, is the sample size big enough to make that conclusion yet? How long do you need to feel about whether he's actually made that step from pretty good to this is who Dion Waiters is now?
Well, he got off to a good start, then he got hurt and missed 20 games. Did not shoot the ball well at the beginning, but he played well. He just wasn't shooting the ball well in the beginning. Then he got hurt. When he came back from that injury, Eric has constantly been coaching him on efficiency. Be a two-way player. We know he's a big game player. He has a lot of what you would say chutzpah, guts, gravitas. He wants to take the shot at the end of the game, but he's a very gifted player, and so if he can put together, another 25 games similar to what he's done over the last, 10 or 12, then that's a pretty good sample size of what a guy can do. Now, does it impact winning? That's an analytic that you have to sort of figure out, his impact on winning, and so he's been talked to a lot about that, and I think he's really taken to heart his conditioning and playing both ends of the court. But he's a playmaker. He's a big-time playmaker.
Don't know how much you want to say about another team, but Magic this week and the shakeup out in LA. Just have you talked to Magic at all about what life in your office, what life from your chair looks like?
No, not. He knows that, because he and I spent a lot of time together over the years. And, I just, when I heard it the other day, it takes me back to 1992, I think, when there was a press conference and he stood up there as a player in front of all of us and said, I have to retire because I have HIV. And, back then, all of us, and I think everybody in the country not knowing exactly what HIV was all about, we all sort of looked at that as a very difficult time and possibly a death sentence for the kid, and so, and now 25 years later, he stands at a press conference saying that he's the president of the team. Deja vu, and there couldn't be a better person and worker, I think, to be the sort of face and also to spearhead this. He'll get the job done out there, and I love Mitch. I coached Mitch, worked closely with Mitch over the years, the Buss family. So, those 20 years in Los Angeles for me, they're part of me. But my 20 years in Miami has become more a part of me than they are because it's more current. But I'm just happy for Magic. So now, he's going to try to rifle my pockets, and I'm going to try to rifle his somewhere along the way. And but I'm happy for him, and I'm also happy for the Lakers.
How much more questions, guys? There's 2 more.
There have been times where Eric has had to take Hassan out to, just talk to him and all. What have you seen from your chair and the way Hassan has played this year?
I love Hassan. We would not have invested in Hassan Whiteside if we didn't believe that he could be an integral part of winning, a force on defense and rebounding. From an offensive standpoint, there still are parts of his game that he has to work on in how he incorporates his game with his teammates. And so, look, you know, I mean, when you're a professional basketball player, and I don't care who you are, if there's a quick substitution, you deal with it as a professional. And there are nights over there where I talk to myself under my breath, and I say, get him out of there. Not him. I could say that by about 15 players, you know, but that's my coaching instinct. Give them a rest, give them a blow, let them settle down, bring them back in. But he hasn't had to do that too much. But you know, being accountable as a franchise player is an all of the time thing, and one of the most difficult things I think in this league to do as a great talent, where a franchise and a city and your teammates depend on you every night, is to bring it. So this is not saying that he doesn't, but to bring that every single night, that in itself is a skill. So that, I think, he is really getting an understanding of as to what his responsibilities are, because I think when he plays the way he plays some nights, we can be unbeatable.
Pat, this new, the way things are with the CBA now, and just the way it's all new and how nobody really knows how summers are going to unfold anymore, how much does that make trade deadline day difficult? Because, I mean, you got to think in so many different ways ahead than maybe you did in the past, it seems like now.
I think we will all find out the consequences of this CBA about 2 or 3 years from now. I think last year, with the influx of a lot of dollars into the system, there were some eye-opening contracts that were signed, and I think you might have one more round of that this year, and then there'll be a new analytic out that will value players even more, you know, as to how much you will pay them versus you know, what a guy can get or something. But we don't know. I mean, you know, Andy is probably the biggest architect in the league of helping to create this document, and one that we're all going to have to live by. And so we'll all be up to speed on it. But the consequences of it, and how it affects a team, and the trading deadline and the draft, and what becomes more valuable, and versus you're going into free agency. And you know, I think that in itself, the fact that teams that have real stars and don't want to lose them, is that player has a decision to make about, you know, I don't want to be here anymore, so I'm going to take $70 million pay cut and go somewhere else. So that in itself, I think, is going to change it, where players probably might stay home a little bit more, because those are significant dollars.
We good, guys?
Okay?